my sister's got a sales job months ago, last year sometime, summertime, I think it was, down in Sarasota, by Tampa, Sarasota, at working for Saks Fifth Avenue. Saks Fifth Avenue, they have really nice stuff, really cool stores in very expensive areas. And so they were doing this thing where they're rolling out not freestanding stores, but they would rent a suite at a really nice hotel, and they would do this sort of joint venture with the really nice hotel and as sort of a benefit. Hey, come to this hotel, and there's a Saks Avenue private shopping thing that you can do. So my sister and two other gals uh, uh, were so there's the end of the story. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Uh, but they have these private shoppers. So yeah, a man, woman, whatever. They come into the hotel and they're like, yeah. So they'll set this whole suite up with stuff that's just for you. It's not any other stuff. You tell them, and they'll do fringe stuff, right? But the core is, oh, I'm interested in these things, and they'll load the whole suite up, and they have some storage area with all kinds of stuff, and they can order it in from all their stores, watches, jewelry, shoes, all the stuff, and customize it for your own shopping experience. And you go in there and blow, more money than God, and you walk out happy, and toting your bags and feeling significant, or like you would do, Chuck. You'd show
Yeah.
up there and give your gal, if a $300,000 shopping experience,
Hmm.
and just, hey, love you, honey, have fun. I'm gonna go golfing. Meet you at the end of the day for pineapple martinis,
Right.
and you know,
And that
and
didn't
but
work.
anyway, so she was telling me, she was going, oh man, because she doesn't do social media either. And she said, oh, they make us do all the social media stuff. And so, here's my little link, and I can't look at it because I don't do social media. So I can look at some stuff, if you don't have accounts, you can look at some
Right.
stuff. But then it says, you have to sign up or sign in or whatever. It's like, I'm not going to do that just to see
Hmm.
more stuff. So I couldn't see. And I thought, that this doesn't seem like a very personalized. Let's say if you want to have a personalized shopping experience, you're going to just do it on social, like general social media stuff. And I thought, that that doesn't seem, but it doesn't seem like it's going to work to me.
Right.
It doesn't, you must have a lot of traffic from the hotel. Otherwise, I don't see, because you can also order things like if she sent me a link and I saw some, diamond cufflinks that I wanted really bad, I could order those if through her, she'd get a commission and then send them to me. But I never, I can't look at their stuff on email or social media. And I don't know how it works. Like if I subscribe, then do I get all these notifications? Like if I subscribe to this channel, do I get a notification
Hmm.
that if there's something new?
Hmm.
Okay. So so let's use that as a marker. And so the average person, how many things do they subscribe to, do you think?
Well, I don't know because I'm not average. I subscribe to this.
But I know you're
you
not,
know,
but if you're looking at
I'm
do
sure
you think a little or a
dozens,
lot?
all kinds of shit.
Dozens, right?
People.
So every time one of
Hmm.
these channels has an update, you get a notification. And so
Right.
what your brain does is they call it habituating, right? You just get used to all the noise, and you
Hmm.
you you just ignore it. You ignore it. It no longer the all these notifications of subscribing to 15 different things that notify you every day. And you cannot look at all that stuff and make any money, right? So you have
Right.
to start ignoring it. And so, but Saks Fifth Avenue said, oh, this is how you do it. And I'm thinking that is not how I would do it. I absolutely would not do that. I'd
Right.
want to be more personal. I'd want to keep up. I'd want to, if I were my sister, oh, my brother John likes gold cufflinks, or,
Hmm. Hmm.
hats with feathers or whatever,
Hmm.
I like. And I'd put that in my little database, and I'd be working that, like, hey, you know what? I saw this. I thought of you. Just wanted to run it by, if you're in town, come by and check it out. If not, you can buy it. If it doesn't work, ship it back. It's on us, no big deal, da, 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 make it like, be assertive with it, like you've got. And I thought, man, if she works this right, this could be super cool. And you have, because she's into that kind of, she loves
Right.
fashion and all the stuff, and to be able to sell Saks Fifth Avenue stuff with all the stores, because it's not just Saks; they own a bunch of stuff,
Right.
all this name
Right.
brand stuff, and you could really have a cool little deal, like be an affiliate, right? And
Hmm.
they pay you a salary, and they give you potential customers at the hotel. I thought this is really cool, but I don't think the way that you're doing it, you better have a lot of traffic. Somebody must be sending you a lot of leads, because otherwise, the way I see you doing it, I just don't see how this is going to work. Unless you make so much money off each thing and
Right.
whatever. But though it's a competitive world, and so recently, like over Thanksgiving, she was visiting my mom in Texas, and then she went up to Minnesota, and today she's in Miami, and it's like, what the, and I text her saying, "Are you still working? You're still doing the Saks Fifth Avenue thing at the hotel?" She goes, "No, it was a big surprise. They closed it down the end of October," and I thought,
Hmm.
well, you're surprised, you
Right.
know.
Right.
Not that I'm some big, I understand everything that's going on, but you just look at it and go, having seen enough deals, right? And see
Hmm.
enough people and enough deals and how to start things and how
Right.
whatever, and you go, I just don't see that.
Yeah,
There's
you
must
just
be
know it's
something
not
I'm
going to
missing.
work.
It's
Well, it's
not.
like
I don't see it working. And
it's like
so
when go ahead.
anyway, what's your analogy?
No, it's just like, when you talk to a merchant, especially when we used to do a lot of bank deals, and you get a merchant that would call you and they got the newest thing since sliced bread, and you're listening to this merchant and their whole plan and strategy, and you go, this is not going to work. You
Yeah,
just know. You just your gut experience tells you. Just like new agents
yeah,
when they come in, new agents always come in and act like they've got the best marketing idea that's out there, and it's like, no,
right.
dude, that it doesn't work like that. I mean, I hear like a good example is like Dale thinks he's going to put together some AI thing that's going to just blow up, and he's going to just get tons of leads and write tons of accounts, and that's what he keeps gravitating towards. And I'm like, yeah, that's not going to work. It's just
Yeah,
not
that
going to
that's
work.
not that's not a relationship.
No.
The,
Yeah.
the game is
Yeah.
how many thousand relationships can you create, and how
Right.
much business not going to send you? These
Right.
flimsy, oh, how many times you see the magical things that just never quite pan out? It sounds great, but
Hmm.
still, I wouldn't do it, because they're not going to. Why are they going to call you?
Right.
Because somebody they trust recommended them?
Right.
No, because some artificial thing, and we've seen, if people respond off advertising, they're looking at you and 10 other places.
Hmm.
So now it's like, well, what, how are you better or different? And now they
Right.
pit you against each other. It's like, and I always did this, I do this. Like, that's what it's like. If
Right.
that's how you want to live your life, then there's no freedom today in that, and there's no
Right.
freedom tomorrow in that. But they bite in these next shiny things,
Hmm.
and 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 it just doesn't. It's not how people get free. It's how fish end up in the boat, you know because they
Hmm.
bit on something shiny.
Right.
you know
Right.
the smart fish get really big and fat. Yeah. you know and you go, wow,
Yeah.
that's a wise fish. We all three of us scuba dive. We've seen big fish down there. Those aren't young
Hmm.
fish. you
Right.
know
Yeah. They've been
you know
around a while.
and it's almost never do you catch something like that, right? You
Hmm.
always catch the other stuff. You almost never catch these monsters. They're too smart for that. They get big and fat and happy and dumb down there eating all the good stuff, while the other fish are end up in the boat in your lunch.
Right.
So, they're so careful of the bright and shiny things. They usually have hooks that you don't see until you get in the boat, and the knife's coming down on you, and you go, oh,
Well, I think people are, inherently are like water, right? They want to take the path of least resistance, but what they don't realize is they're actually giving themselves more resistance because of that, like you said, the head-to-head thing. They go, look, I got 50 leads a month coming in on this deal. Yeah, but you close one if you're
yeah,
lucky, and you give it away to close it. That doesn't
right.
sound like a stress-free way to go. I mean, not that anything's stress-free, but
Well, and you're going to pay for it, right? These aren't going
yeah,
to be free either. Now you're in the
right,
same boat. You're paying for whatever your lead cost is. I want my
hmm,
lead cost to be zero. I
right,
want absolutely no lead cost, and
right,
be easy to close.
right. But
And that's what this system brings.
Right.
They,
But
every
it's
every every
work.
other system absolutely does not do that. This is the only system I've ever seen in all my life in all the world. And we both travel around it. We've seen,
Hmm.
it's not. I haven't, I I don't know everything, but I've seen most things.
Right.
Every
Right.
once in a while something will pop up and go, oh, that's haven't quite seen it like that before. But
Right.
we've spent so much time testing so many different ways, more time than most people will 40 times more time than most people will ever test stuff and see what time, turn the dials and see what works. And over all this time, it comes down to people are people,
Right.
and they you want people who call you because somebody they trust brought your name up.
Right.
There's no cost in that, and the game is how many of those can you create coming in a month.
Well, and
And
right, but I think it's a lot more work up front. I think for a lot of people they feel
yeah,
that way,
yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like, look,
yeah,
okay, so if you look at the front and the back of this deal, right? You're front loading. You're calling all these refers. You're calling all these people. You're building these relationships. You're marketing to them, marketing to them. Maybe you only get 10 calls a month, but you close seven of them, right? Or you do this cheap, flimsy deal, which seems pretty simple up front because you're either paying way too much for it or you're, just buying leads or whatever the situation is. And then you have 50 conversations on the back end and you only close two. It's like, and these are headaches. These are all headaches because, like you've said, I'm going against some guy down in Tucumcari, New Mexico, who's trying to give it away to this guy because he's got a similar shitty program. So it's like we're it's the race to zero, and it's like
yeah,
that doesn't. Yeah, up front it sounds awesome. Oh
yeah,
man, I get all these leads, all these leads. You're gonna go broke doing it that way. Even if
yeah,
you have all those leads, it doesn't
yeah.
add up. It's just not a good return on investment, in my opinion.
Right.
But
So the challenge that we have in what we do is that everything else sounds better. You know,
right.
everything else everything else sounds so easy. And we go, look,
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy up front, but it's not harder. It's just different.
It's just
And all
different.
these other things, these bright and shiny, these newfangled shiny things that never quite work out well enough. I mean, you can
Mm-hmm.
spend your life chasing this stuff and never
Yeah.
understand why it didn't work. Or you can do something that works, like build something solid, right? It's like, the three little pigs. You can build your house out of
Right.
sticks or whatever the other thing
Right.
was.
Hay
But
or
look,
whatever.
if
Mm-hmm.
we build it out of bricks, let's build our house out of bricks, and then it's going to stay stable. It's actually going to work. It's actually something that exists. It's real, and and then you can live in it. The other
Right.
one, it's not ever going to quite work right. The big bad wolf comes up and huffs and puffs. It's going to blow down, or it never works right in the first place. It's a you know that children's story is really relevant here. And so
Right.
when we tell people, look, you build your house out of bricks here, and they go, oh my God, I can
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can just do AI over there, and it's so much. Yeah, well, it's in but so there's a matter of trust right there, right? The people that trust us end up winning.
Mm-hmm.
The people that go,
Mm-hmm.
well, I don't know these guys from Adam, and I'm going to do it this other way. Well, they how many of those have ever worked out?
None. I mean,
Yeah, they
maybe
don't. The
somebody
people,
fell into something, but none.
right. Somebody falls into something. Oh, I've got
Right.
like 700 clients from a different deal, and I just call them
Right.
up. They like me. They'll go with me. So I
Right.
get some of those, and that's all I need. And now I'm making my 10 grand a month, and that's all I
And I'm
need,
cool.
right? I
Yeah.
mean, I think of a guy's name that's happened to. So if you have that, God bless you. Come here and work with us, and you can be free. Just it's an easy deal like that.
Right.
So if you have one of those, do it. Take advantage of it. Oh
Yeah.
my
Right.
God,
Right.
how fast can you get a hold of those people? How many how long does it take to contact 700 people? Not very long. Work for a couple months, and then you just maintain them, or a couple hours a week for the rest of time as you float around in whatever part of the world you want to. Most people don't have that, and we go, okay, you can do the flimsy, whatever it is, AI, or funnels online, all
Mm-hmm.
this stuff that never quite works well enough. You don't know why. They claim it does. Other people say
Right.
it does. It really doesn't. We've never seen it work well enough. We've
Mm-hmm.
never made money on paid advertising, not once. In 30 years, we have made zero. We experimented with hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally,
Right.
and sometimes that much in 1 year. So we
Right.
probably invested probably a couple $1 million in test, easy, a couple $1 million in testing things. And it all comes down to simple relationships,
Right.
and it's not doing all this tricky shit. It's doing simple stuff 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 times. It's simple stuff, and the game is how fast can you do it? How fast can you create these relationships? The quality is as good a quality as you can in the shortest amount of time. What are the
Well,
things you can do, and how many of those can you do? Because things will come up in life and conversation.
right.
And I know it's totally different than, well, we're going to send targeted advertising to this list of such and such. Like, okay, but that doesn't work well enough. You're not going to get free doing that. Doesn't work.
Well,
Uh,
look at the targets. I mean, let's strip it away because this is really conceptual, right? Let's like break it down and go. Let me give you solid proof to show you. People that are out looking for merchant accounts that are responding to all this stuff that you're throwing out there, those are typically new merchants. They're merchants that
yeah,
don't have a program. Okay.
right.
So look at the statistics on how many new businesses fail. Okay. But this way, what we're doing is we're going after merchants that aren't looking for a new program. We're just getting connected to them and we're able to show them a better way. So a guy that's been in business 5, 10 years, what's the likelihood he's going to be in business 5, 10 years from now? It's probably pretty high, right? But a
Yep.
new business, they've got nothing. There's nothing to that. There's no volume. There's no track record. There's no guarantee. I mean, there's no guarantees in either way. But if 50% of businesses fail, then if I go about it this way, I automatically know that 50% of the stuff I'm adding is going to be out of business within the next 12 months. Okay. As opposed to, let's say, maybe 0.05% of everything I'm adding this way will be out of business in the next 12
Well,
months.
even give it 10%.
Or, okay, do 10. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Let's go 10.
give it a lot. Give it as much as you want. It's still going to be
Right.
better than zero.
It's still going to be better.
Well, and
And
we've done what Chuck's talking about for
yes,
years. For
yes,
years, we sent postcards to new businesses,
right,
and we'd get a lot of business because nobody else was doing it. But
right.
then when you look at your residual reports, half of them do zero,
Zero,
so you're making no money there, and the
right,
other half do a fourth of what an established business does. So you are
right,
making literally 15% of the passive income that you could make if you went to established businesses and
right.
did this, arrange this. We're a little more strategic, and
Hmm.
and so you could have what is that, 6 times more money
Right.
if you ignore new business. Absolutely ignore new business, you'll make
Hmm.
6 times more money, just getting the same number of accounts. Now the game is, how do you get those accounts? And ideally, how do you get them to want to talk to you? And those
Hmm.
people too that want to talk to you, most of those are ignoring. Most of those don't respond to mailers. In fact, most of them
Right,
don't even get their mail. Somebody else does. So
right,
they absolutely close their door to the outside. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about it. They're busy making their million
right,
dollars doing countertops, or selling welding online courses, or whatever,
right,
refrigerating,
right.
whatever they're doing. They're making their money. They aren't worried about this measly peasly little stuff. But when somebody goes, hey, you know what? Yeah, something comes up in a conversation at a cocktail party, at a welding party, underwater welding party,
Yeah,
and
right.
they go, you know what? You should, some comment comes up. They go, oh, you know what? I heard about something like that. There's a guy I know. They go, oh, really? I should give him a call. Because
Right.
this, and so suddenly your phone rings, and oh, hey, and these people are often whales, right? They're
Yeah,
often really thick deals.
right,
They're making a lot of money. They're doing a lot of volume. There's a lot of processing income that can be made off these deals.
right.
Uh, uh, but
Well, and they're
they
not
won't respond to
shopping.
anything.
They're
They're
not
not
shopping.
shopping.
Yeah,
The
I
only way
don't
they're
want
going
a
to
guy
get,
that's shopping. Oh, great.
no, no, no,
I got
no,
5 leads
right.
today and they're all talking to 10 other companies. That does not sound like a good time. That sounds like it
No,
sucks.
it's a
You know,
horrible time.
but I
And
want the
now you
guy
have to cut each other's throat. Like you said,
right.
it's a race to zero.
Yeah, it's a race to zero, but the guy that goes, "Hey, I thought I'd look into this cuz my buddy Joe said I should give you a call and here's what I
Yeah.
do." And you
And
go,
and so
or
what
you're calling him. It's the only way to
and
go.
so So if you're doing some other business, what if somebody's watching this and goes, you know what, I'm not interested in doing that sort of business, you know? And of course, one of the things that we're talking about here is, you know, one of the reasons we're talking about this is one to give you the cut of our jib, right? And, you know,
Yeah.
show you it's not our first trip to the rodeo, and hopefully you like what we're talking, you know, what we talk about resonates. But what if they are selling something different? What if they're not after this? What if they go, look, I like watching you guys, but I don't want to do business with you. I've already got my own thing going, and
Hmm.
I prefer doing that. I sell insurance, you know. Uh, so does the how do you think the same thing works in insurance? And does it work with, let's say not only that, let's say something, let's hit a couple things that are, I'll try to do my best to do in insurance, motorcycle parts, and groceries.
Where does it work and where it doesn't work?
Well, yeah. Do you think it works in all of those? Does it work the same, different? Does it work the
I
same or
think it.
differently?
Let's break them down. Insurance for sure. You know, I have the same insurance guy that I've had that I was referred to 20 years ago, and I have a relationship with him, right? So I was an easy sale for him because I was looking for particular type insurance for some real estate deals I was doing at the time, and that was an easy sale for him because I didn't have time nor the inclination or desire to sit and talk to 50 different insurance guys when I got referred into this guy by the realtor that I was using at the time. Easy lay down deal for him. And I think the interesting one is you brought up motorcycle parts, and I kind of know a little bit about that. Um, a good buddy of mine owns a motorcycle shop, and he gets these people that shop, right? They call, and it's just all about, you know, the dollars. What's it cost? What's it cost? But what he does is he's able to establish the relationships with them, and he's providing knowledge because most of those do-it-yourself guys that think they're going to go to YouTube and watch a video and figure it out, they f it up, right? So
Yeah.
then, if you call the guy you bought the motorcycle part from Japan, he's not going to walk you through what you did. But if you buy from my buddy, he's going to be able to offer something more. It's deeper. Groceries,
Well,
I don't know.
hold on. Let's go back to the motorcycle guy because
Yeah,
we didn't talk about how he gets a referral.
gets a ton. I've personally referred tons of business to him because I'm a big
Is
motorcycle
it
enthusiast.
did you F it up, Chuck, after watching the YouTube video?
I did not. I'm not that dumb. I'm dumb, but I'm not that dumb. But no, I didn't. But and I look at how many deals or how many new clients I've sent to him over the years because motorcycle enthusiasts, birds of a feather flock together, right? So you're always seeing guys that got bikes and you're talking, oh, where do you get your bike worked on? You hear their problems, you share your problems. Then all of a sudden I go, oh, go to this guy. He can solve that issue for you. And I've heard from my buddy after referring clients to him, and he goes, "Those are the easiest sale. The trust is already built because they've heard from you, they've heard from somebody who's propping him up. So he's getting big engine rebuilds. He's not just getting oil changes and tire changes. These guys are coming in and dropping 7, 8, 10 grand on an engine rebuild, where that's happening right away where the normal sales cycles, I got to change this guy's oil and his tires for 3 years before he's willing to throw that kind of money down because I need to establish the trust. So, you know, referrals, I can't think of anything. And then I guess if you go to groceries, I don't know, unless you're looking for something specific, or I think more of that is probably location. I think most people buy their groceries at the nearest spot. But if I went in there and it was a horseshit experience, I wouldn't be buying groceries there, right? So
Yeah.
I don't I can't speak to that one, I guess, but I can speak to the other two and go, hands down. Referrals, referrals, referrals. His best customers at my buddy's bike shop are all referrals. Those guys, on
Yeah.
average, probably drop on an annual basis 10 times more than just someone walking in off the street or finding them online or yellow pages or whatever.
Yeah.
They spend more money.
You know, and groceries, by the way, uh, I've been referred uh, to a place for seafood, right? Like, oh, I found this seafood shop is better
Sure.
than these others, and I didn't know. Okay, so I'll go
Hmm.
there because I trust the person that gave me the recommendation. So
Right.
I buy my seafood from that place because I was recommended over there, and sure enough, it's
Right.
it's good, you know. Well, I don't know. The other places didn't seem bad, but this person seems to buy a lot of it and seems to understand. So I
Right.
just, you know what, I don't need to think about it. I'll just keep going where, until I have a bad experience, until I get food
Right.
poisoning, or
Right.
then I go or she tells me otherwise. Otherwise, I don't want to wonder. I
Yeah.
don't want
Right.
to go around. I'm going to
Right.
try your shrimp. No, no, no. I've got other fish to fry, so to speak.
Well, I bought a half a cow that way. I had a buddy that's like, oh, do because
What?
I want.
So is this?
Here we go.
There's a
Here
lot
it
of jokes
comes.
to that, right?
Here it
Yeah.
comes. Here comes the
I
jokes.
can imagine. You see those dogs with like paralyzed back legs, that are trying to pull themselves
Crawl
around.
around. Yeah.
Yeah, you see it. Chuck's cow is missing the back part of it, but it's clawing itself around the pasture with
But
little wheels on the back.
I got to admit, I was a little apprehensive because he said, I buy my cows over at Mad Cow. So I was like, I don't know if I want to go buy my cow there. No, but I was like, all right, I'm looking for cleaner meats, right? I don't want I want grass fed. I want, I don't want all
Yeah,
these hormones and everything injected into the stuff that I'm eating and these medications and stuff. And I was referred into this guy. Now, every year I buy a half a cow from him. And he loves it because he goes, okay, now I can count on, I got another customer. So every year, now I just got to find somebody to buy the other half, right? So
right.
when people ask me, I go, oh, if you're eating red meat, buy it here. It's better for you. The quality's way better. The cost is even better. So yeah, I guess in that respect, or the seafood example is great, because I would go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Instead of going to your local Hy-Vee or Cub or wherever, or Publix down there, I guess. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, yeah,
Well, and I guess
referrals
if
are
you're
big,
interested in cheap, right? If you want cheap, then a cheap person's going to recommend
right?
birds of like you said earlier, birds of a feather
Hmm.
flock together. If I'm cheap, probably other people that I know are cheap too go, oh man, I got 16 dozen eggs for $3. You
Right.
go, I hear that and I go,
Something's
I
not
don't
right.
think I
Hmm.
want those eggs.
Hmm.
What are they out of? A platypus and they're old. I don't want any. That doesn't sound good to me. I'm going to run from that recommendation. Uh, they're wasting. It's like, anyway. But if I'm into really cheap, like you, just the opposite of what you were saying, right? If
Right.
all I care about the stuff I put in my body is based on price, then okay, oh right, really? The so and so has 16 dozen eggs for
Yeah.
$6. Yeah, that sounds good. I'll run out and get those. Thanks. You know.
Right.
So, but
Right.
but and if I trusted you, right? I know you're a value shopper. You know,
Right.
I know you hunted around, did your research.
Right.
That's probably the best egg deal in town.
Well, I think whatever you do, you got to make sure you add, bring that value. Bring that value. Then you can ask. Even if it was more money, I would pay it because the value's there. And I think most people would. If you bring that value, and I think that whatever business you're in, go that little extra mile. Be just be this much ahead of what your competition can do for any one of your clients. And if you do that, people are happy. If you under promise, over deliver, that's how you're going to get referrals too. They're going to go, oh man, this guy, make it. We always say around here, it's like be concierge. It's concierge service for our
Yeah.
clients. And
Well, you mentioned value, right? And you said,
mhm,
well, I think most people would go for value, and I don't know if that's true, but I think if you provide value, let's go back to tie in some of the other things we talked about,
right,
because some of the people are shopping around for cheap. Value is not on their mind, right?
right, of
And
course,
so even if you land them as a client, they're still going to be looking for a reason, probably because they're looking their big idea is price.
right,
And so if you're going to stoop to that price, if you're accepting stooping to what they just selling on price, you're probably going to lose them anyway, because now you just
right,
reinforced
right,
them to go away from you, and
hmm,
because the next guy that shows up and is a nickel cheaper, you've already demonstrated to them that
right,
yes, you should go with cheap. So you're not going to keep those anyway. People are shopping on price are going to leave you unless
right,
that's your game too. But then just be prepared to lose a lot of
hmm,
customers. you better have quite a machine to bring in a lot of clients because you're going to lose a lot of clients. But the
Well,
ones that are value minded and you provide value by understanding, asking the right
mm-hmm,
questions, understand what's valuable to them, and then
mm-hmm,
providing the value that they're interested in, they're going to understand that and they're going to like it and they're going to appreciate it. And you
right,
don't want to charge them a bizarre price, but it's okay to charge for the service that you give. The
right,
fee for service. I heard it once said there's a fee for service, but the value that you get is so much
right.
bigger than the fee that you ever pay for service. And so if you're somebody like Chuck or somebody like me, I go for value.
Me
I
too.
want
Yeah,
value. I don't have any interest in getting something, back to the 16 dozen eggs for $6,
right,
and I
right.
find out that they're full of, God only knows, right? They're
Mm-hmm,
laboratory eggs. You can't even
right,
identify what it came out of.
right.
It's like, wait, well, you didn't say you wanted the organic,
Oh,
poultry eggs from Jim's
you
farm.
you want chicken
You get
eggs?
laboratory eggs.
Oh, you want chicken eggs? Oh, well, that's a whole nother
Yeah,
deal.
yeah,
That's you know, but
yeah. Oh,
but I think you said something there that I think a lot of people overlook is that in this because there's nothing more satisfying than when someone comes in and they are shopping you on price and you end up selling them on value. Okay, but
hmm
the only way, and let me use the motorcycle example, the motorcycle shop example. You always have the guy, and these are conversations I've had with my buddy that owns a shop, and he's like, these guys come in and they want like the cheapest tire, so they get the cheapest tire and they're replacing the thing twice a year. Okay, but if they spent a little more money, let's say 50% more money, they can get a tire they only change once a year. So if you extrapolate and run the numbers, you're actually spending more money going the cheaper route because the tire lasts half as long. So spend
And if you're in
150,
Minnesota, you got a lot less bike motorcycling
right?
because
So
your bike's all tied up, for a week in the shop trying to get a new
right,
tire,
right. So
and you've got to take it there and figure out how to get a ride home, or you get to walk.
exactly what, and then
Congratulations.
but some
You
people
got
don't
your
know.
biker boots and your trucker wallet with the chain, and you're
Trucker
walking down.
wallet. Not all bikers wear trucker wallets, by the way,
Okay.
because I don't. But the idea is you have to really be good at discovery, right? Like when you're working with a client, whatever the industry is, you got to ask a lot of questions, find out kind of the way they operate, the way they process information. And then once you gather all your data, then what you have to do is you have to guide them the rest of the way through this process and teach them how to make either look at this differently or make decisions a little bit different when it comes to this.
It's a
That's
game
a
of strategy,
skill.
isn't it? You just described imagine a board game that, okay, here's your objective, right?
Right.
You're describing strategy of a new board game.
There it is. If we could invent that board game, we
Well, it's called Freedom Challenge.
there it is. It is, right.
When
Right.
you win, you get to be free.
Yeah, you win, you get to be
And
free.
along the way, it feels better,
It
right? You don't
does.
have all the typical crap of,
It does.
getting like all the things that people run into, they don't know how to get around. Well,
Right.
because that's not, you aren't using the Freedom Challenge strategy. You're using what everybody else does.
Yeah, you're
Oh,
using
what would AI
gimmicky.
do? Oh, AI would tell you to do this. Well, it's what everybody does, and you're never going to win. You're
Right.
never going to win with average strategy. The stuff that everybody teaches,
Right.
that then the world thinks is right, and they're all doing the same thing. It's really hard to win when everybody. I mean, who's going to win? What's
Right.
your chance of winning when everybody's doing the same thing? What are the chances of you winning when
A
everybody's
lot
doing the same
less.
thing?
A lot less.
You know,
And
I guess it's a percentage of how many are playing, right? If everybody's doing the same thing,
right. And
100 players.
I don't want every customer. I don't want them. I want customers that understand this way of thinking because future relationship with them is a lot easier too. So if a guy's only on price and he wants to beat me down and he'll only go with me if I lower my price to this, you got to stand for something and go, look, dude, I don't, maybe this isn't good for you. And then we get into a whole nother sales tactic, right? They call it the takeaway. They go, nah, maybe this is a program that you really wouldn't
Right.
qualify for or isn't for you. Well, what do you mean it's not for me? Well, you're beating me up over a half a penny a transaction, dude. You only do 800 transactions a month. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So,
Well, yeah, but your takeaway is interesting. We haven't talked about it here, right? On
right,
this in any of the things
right,
we've done so far is takeaway, and takeaway is what Chuck was just talking about. You tell them something to the effect of, well, you know what, I don't think this is for you. You take it away from them, and when you
hmm
take something away from them, people, their natural response is, hey,
right.
no, hold on, they don't want you to take stuff. Would you fight harder if somebody was, would you try harder to earn $100 or to stop somebody from taking $100 from you?
To stop someone
You're gonna
from taking something from you.
Right. You're gonna
Yeah,
try infinitely. I am way harder. And
right.
so when you start taking things away, people they can't help it.
hmm
It's how brains work.
Right,
It's the psychology of it. It's when people don't want to miss, they don't want to lose, they don't want to have things taken away. So
right,
when you play, it's the strategy we're talking about, right? There's a way. If you use the strategy, you can create everything in the life that you want. But like any sort of game, you're not going to understand the strategy right away. You got to get in and start seeing it and
right,
playing it and going, that's how that works. Like if I'm learning chess, I'm going to get my ass kicked every time at first.
right,
Not every time, but I'm gonna win a little. But I'm going to learn. I'm learning, and pretty soon
right.
I'm getting better. And I'm going, I wonder if I did this. It draws their pawn in, and king to knight
hmm
f, whatever it is,
hmm
And now
hmm
I'm winning. It's like, oh, cool.
But you got
I
to
never
understand the
knew that
setup.
before.
It's like you said, you got to
Yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
the setup. I always equated it to, I always like in the example I've always given, is it's like Thanksgiving dinner, right? So you're out there, you're setting the placemats,
It's
you're
always
setting
an
the
eating
table.
example, Chuck.
It's what?
Honey, this is when you go to, when you go to that eating disorder get together.
My
Don't
relation,
use food.
my relationship with food is not very good because I do like to eat a lot of it. But I should really weigh 9,000 pounds with as much food as I eat.
Right.
So I don't know
Yeah,
how this works.
Chuck, except when he's doing these recordings, he's on the treadmill, you know, you know,
24/7,
and
baby.
sometimes with a turkey leg.
Yeah, right. I'm just munching on
But
it.
turkey legs are good, a smoked one. Chuck's
Right.
into
Oh,
smoking meat.
oh,
That
man.
I'm imagining that half
Oh,
cow that you talked about that he bought, he
oh,
probably smokes half it.
oh,
He was talking about smoking a turkey for Thanksgiving. Like what
oh,
was the
yeah.
last thing, the Thanksgiving before last? His his gal was baked one, and
Yep.
he smoked one,
Yep.
and basically she scraped hers off into the trash and said, "Go make
We
another."
did. We did. I
you
go,
know,
don't
Go
don't you
smoke
bring that.
another, Charlie.
Do not bring that into this house ever again. Do not bring that in here. We only eat smoked turkey here. But it is the truth though, to understand the setup. You can't just do the takeaway right up front because
No, no,
there's no
no.
relationship, there's no
Right.
value. You gotta, and these things take time. And I think a lot of people, what they do is they just kind of rush through it. They think, they don't make sure they're not doing tie down questions. They're not making sure the customer's with them the whole way. They're not seeking agreement on key issues. They're not doing all this stuff, and then they try like a takeaway and it completely flops. The guy's like, yep, right, I don't qualify. Click, I'm out of here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, dude, you
Yeah, because
didn't set it
they don't
up.
want to, they don't care. They don't want to qualify.
Yeah, they don't want to
It doesn't
qualify.
matter to them. But if they're
Exactly.
liking what you're talking about, and then you go, yeah, you know what? I just don't. I don't. Whatever the words are used for takeaway. I just don't
Right.
think. And they go, well, wait a second. Well,
Yes.
here's how. Or when another technique we use when somebody's beating you up on price is what most everybody will go, yeah, I can do that. And when people do that to me, when I go, I don't know, that seems awfully expensive. They go, well, we can drop it 15%. I go, you just screwing me for 15% a,
Right.
a
Right.
heartbeat ago?
Right.
Where'd this come from? All of a sudden, I feel like you were ripping me off a
Mm-hmm.
moment ago, and now you're giving me 15% off. I don't trust you now. So,
Right.
but if they go, look, we can take 15% off, but we've got to, you don't get half the cow. You only get,
Right.
we've got to take one of the legs back.
Right.
We have to.
Yeah. Well,
you
those
know,
cow
we,
legs, they're delicious.
yeah, right. We've got to, or you take part of the service away, or you don't
Right.
get the deluxe printer. We can do that, but we need to do it like this. Which one works better for you? Do you want to do it the way we're talking about, or you want to pay 15% less and have 15% less?
Right. Or
What
maybe
works better
try.
for you?
Here's a novel idea too. And I don't know. I mean, I might try this. Maybe ask a question. Well, let me ask you, what part about this do you think is too expensive? Get them to tell you, because obviously I can, because if I ask that question, I'm going to hear what they think is too expensive. So maybe I can overcome that and get my, they always say full tilt boogie, right? You get the full tilt boogie, you get what you were asking for it. So
That
maybe
means
if I
full
just,
price, Ian. He's talking about you get full price.
yeah, it's full price.
Full,
But
we're conjuring up, if you've never been in a sales room back in the 80s,
yeah,
full
right.
tilt, full
Yeah,
tilt boogies probably may not be something you've heard of, but
that is
we've heard
true.
it a million times.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But ask a question.
Yeah,
What about this do you think is too expensive? Because it might be something so simple that you can just
yeah,
overcome it. And okay, maybe I don't have, okay, maybe I go down 5% instead of 15, but maybe that represents an extra $1,000 in my pocket, or an extra in our
right.
business,
Yeah,
maybe an extra $30
yeah,
a month in residual income. Well, if I compound that times every customer that haggles over cost, and if I can just get a few dollars more times 1,000 customers over the course of a year, I mean, that's substantial
yeah.
money.
And
Take the time.
that's something right there. This kind of stuff. A lot of people go, well, I'll learn how to do that later. Well, okay, maybe you'll get better at it later, but be thinking about it now.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to get free, there's a way. If you use a strategy right, you can
Mm-hmm.
create everything you've always wanted to have in life. But it's learning the strategy. It's becoming better and better and better and better, working
Yep.
on it, right? Because
Right.
some of the stuff, when if you just, most people they've never been taught it, or maybe they've heard about it in some obscure way. Yet the person that's training them isn't bright enough, isn't
Right.
astute enough, hasn't worked,
Right.
doesn't even understand. Because most sales trainers, most sales managers, uh, aren't really great at sales. They were
Right.
just really good. They are decent chaps hanging around the office. You go, I don't want to fire him. Let's make him manager.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to take somebody who's really good at sales, make them a manager or trainer, because they can't make the money that they that they
Right.
used to make,
Right.
and now you've lost all the sales. So usually the people that train aren't really good at what they're doing. So you get poorly trained people,
Right.
or you get people trained by somebody who's not really sharp,
Right.
can't really get free. If they could get free doing the sales part, they would never be a manager. They just wouldn't do it because
Right.
now you've got to get these people that don't understand what even I'm talking about, you know, to do
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. And now I'm going broke. They can't make any money. The whole company's suffering. So just understand, if you've been sales trained before, you've probably been sales trained by somebody who's not really good at sales. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you start hearing some of the stuff that we talk about, we're not doing sales training. you know,
Right.
people do join us and we go, all right, here's how it works. But it's so much broader and deeper. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much more science,
Mm-hmm.
psychology. There's so much more psychology that goes into what we talk about and how you play the game. It's like a game of strategy, a game of poker is all strategy games are mental, right?
Right.
So most winning any game is a mental game. Doesn't matter if it's physical, right? Because most people could run a marathon, but they go, I don't want to, or I give up, or whatever the case. Oh, I hurt. But if you play the mental game, yeah, I mean, you've seen people run a marathon that don't look like, really, you ran a marathon? How is that
Mm-hmm.
even possible?
Mm-hmm.
But they do. Where other people are in wicked good shape, are bailing at halfway through. And it's the difference in the mental game. E- Everything that we do in this Freedom Challenge is a mental game.
Mm-hmm.
And granted too, it's a physical game because there's your brain uses energy. It
Right.
burns calories and that kind of thing. So you want to fuel yourself right too, right? You know, like you go to. I was at the Range Rover dealership a while back, and waiting for your car to be getting the snow tires on your car, right? That's what I was
Mm-hmm.
doing. And they've got sugar donuts and Mountain Dew, as much as you can eat and drink. And I see the
Mm-hmm.
salespeople going and eating that stuff. I go, oh my God, no wonder you don't sell any cars. Your brain's
Mm-hmm.
running on garbage, and it's only going to fuel you for about 90 minutes, and then you're going to
Right.
crash,
Right.
and then you're going to want to just lounge around all afternoon. You know. So anyway, so it's mostly mental, but you want to fuel yourself right too, so you can it's just like a fuel yourself for an athletic event, because your brain to do the strategy needs to be fueled properly.
Right.
But it's a mental game, man. It's a totally mental. It's a game of strategy. How can I lay this out so that people refer business to me when it comes in, I can land most of it, at least half of it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Mental game.
Yeah, you got to be engaged. And to be engaged takes energy. Takes a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
energy.
it does. It takes a surprising amount of energy
Yeah.
to do this. Let's say because I always look at it like really go after it hard for 5 hours a day, like
Right.
sprint for
Right.
5 hours a day, and at the end of that, I'm either gonna fall down,
Right.
or I'm gonna go get some exercise, get oxygenated, right?
Right.
Because mentally I'm tired. Humans go into this mental trough
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
often in the afternoon, off at 2:30, give or take. So at 2:30, I like to either be just not doing like what we're doing now because it takes thinking.
Right.
I'm not doing this at 2:30. I'm
Right.
doing something else at 2:30. I'm either resting, my eyes closed and just chilling,
Mm-hmm.
or walking on the beach, or lifting weights, or riding my bike really hard, something like that. Because then
Mm-hmm.
when you do that, it's almost like there's another day. You have the
Right.
whole afternoon then
Mm-hmm.
to do other, whatever other stuff. Well,
Right.
most people are just wanting to cash in their chips and fade into the day, and then go have a bunch of drinks and then fade into the night. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's like, nah, no, no, no. I
Mm-hmm.
wanna, I wanna, I wanna sprint. I don't want this to last. I don't want to have to work for 40 years to. Yeah, I'll never get free doing it that way.
Right.
I want to sprint for 5 hours a day. I'm going to get literally probably 4 times more done in that time than the average person does in their whole day.
Yep.
And then when I use that time where I don't feel sharp to do something physical, and now I get my exercise in, you know, and now I've got another like half day that I can be strong again, and I can
Right.
do, probably not more of the same because I'm tired of doing that. I'm going to do something different but effective, and I'm not going to happy hour. I don't go to happy hour, or I don't go out
No.
for lunch, and I don't go to happy hour.
No.
It's two things that I don't do, which a lot of people do. Oh, hey, let's go have lunch. I don't do that. I
Mm-hmm.
need to use that time when you're having lunch because that's part of my 5 hours.
Right.
If I start at 8:30 and go to 5 hours, that takes me to 1:30. And so now, uh, so most people, they start thinking about lunch at 11. They go at 12. So now they've gone from whatever. Maybe they start at 8:30. Let's say same time. So they've got 9:30, 10. They've got 2.5 hours where they didn't sprint. They just sort of ran at a marathon pace.
Well,
So
I
they
think
went
those
slower.
people. Well, they're basing their day solely on time. I base my
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. That's a
I
really good point. You're
I base my day on productivity. Like
right.
I have these
Yes.
things. I have these things I want to get done today. Okay, do I want them
Right.
to go until 4:30, 5 o'clock this afternoon, or do I want to be done at 1:30 and then I can go
Right.
snowmobiling or ride my motorcycle or going fishing or doing things that enhance my mind in a different way,
Yeah.
so
Right. Yeah.
it's like quit judging your day on time and judge it on productivity,
Yeah.
and
Right on.
that's how you're going to find success,
Yeah.
you know so I'm going to make my 50 calls today, or I'm going to contact these 8 people, whatever it is. Just base it on something different, because if you do it by time, and what I've seen is too, is if you base your days on time alone, half the time you don't get the shit done you wanted to get done, so you drag it into the next day. And then it's just this like perpetuating, like
Yeah.
constantly getting farther and farther behind, less and less successful, farther away from being
Yeah.
free. And then the mental part starts kicking in. You feel like, man, I'm behind. It's like,
It's not.
dude,
It doesn't work.
it's a
Yeah. It
slippery
doesn't work
slope.
anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a slippery
And
slope,
they start
man.
grasping at straws, right? Oh,
Right,
I better do something like at the beginning of our conversation. It's like, oh, I better grasp at the shiny thing. Maybe that's going
right,
to save me. That's just going
right,
to save me. This next shiny, because they advertise it that way. Oh, you're
right,
tired of doing it? Well, of course I am, because
right,
I've been wasting my time. Of
right,
course. And I don't understand how I'm wasting my time, but I am, and I can feel it. Yeah, that bright shiny thing that you wrote the clever advertising
right.
about. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to do that. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
and then that doesn't work out. The next thing doesn't work out. The next thing doesn't work out. You just keep grasping at straws, and pretty soon, you just go, oh God, I've only got 7 more
Can't do
years
it.
of this. I hate it. It's wrung the best time of my life away. And
Yeah.
now I resent my job. And then when
Hmm.
I die, I resent all the time
Yeah.
at the
Right.
office. But wait a second,
Hmm.
we're not dead yet. We've got an opportunity to correct, start doing it right away.
Yeah. 100%.
Get
Yeah.
on track. There's a way, if you use it strategically, you can create all the things in life you've ever wanted to
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can keep creating across time. It's not just like one thing. This is
Right.
like, oh, once I understand the strategy, I can use it. I can use it over time for all
Right.
the things that are going to come up in life. But if you don't, then you're not self-reliant. When you figure this strategy out, you're self-reliant. You
Right.
understand across time how to unlock stuff. If you rely on all this magical stuff that you're trying to grasp at, you never become self-reliant and you never
Right.
understand.
Well, and it's validation. It's when you do these things right, you start getting this mindset that there's nothing you can't do because you go,
Yes.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, I can
yeah.
figure.
That's
Because
that's right.
you know
That's
what I
right. It's
mean?
like hell yeah, man. I can figure this thing out. Give me
Exactly.
anything. Yeah,
Right.
right? Give me anything and I
Yep.
will figure it out.
Exactly.